The sun hung low over the horizon, casting a warm golden glow on the rugged landscape of the west. The wind carried the scent of sagebrush and dust, sweeping across the vast, empty plains. I had always been a man who sought solitude. Nathaniel. Woods, an Australian-born cowboy, roaming across a land that wasn't kind to anyone, but still, I had chosen it. The land that echoed with silence, a silence I longed for, yet feared at the same time. I thought this remote corner of the world would be my salvation, the place where I could escape the ghosts of my past. But as the wind whispered through the tall grass and the sky darkened, I realized that the peace I sought might just be the thing that could swallow me whole. I had purchased a small, secluded farm, away from the noise and chaos of civilization, just as I had always dreamed. A place where I could rebuild my life, away from the suffocating memories of a wife lost too soon, and the cold weight of regret that had followed me for years. The farm was isolated, perfect for a man like me. Or so, I thought. It was just after dusk, when the last remnants of daylight clung to the sky, that I first heard it an eerie, almost imperceptible sound carried by the wind. It wasn't the wind. No, it was something else. A cry, a soft, weak cry, almost too faint to make out. But something in the way it broke the silence caught my attention. I couldn't ignore it. Not this time. I urged my horse faster, the hooves pounding against the dirt as I rode through the cold air, my breath coming in sharp bursts. The cry was getting louder, and I followed it like a compass guiding me through the wilderness. The trees, bare and skeletal, loomed over me as I cut through the thicket. Every crack of a twig, every rustling leaf, seemed to intensify the feeling that something was terribly wrong. And then, through the fading light, I saw her. A little girl, no older than 6, crouching behind a rock, holding a smaller child close to her chest. The faint mist of their breath was the only movement in the cold air. Her dark eyes locked onto mine, wide with fear, and I could see the rawness of her distress. She wasn't alone. Not far from them, a wolf stood, its eyes burning bright yellow, fixated on me. A predator, and one that wouldn't hesitate to strike. I froze. The last thing I wanted was to make a sudden move and scare the girl or provoke the wolf. I could feel the tension in the air, thick with danger. With careful precision, I drew my rifle. The sound of the wolf's growl vibrated through the air, its muscles coiled, ready to lunge. "Don't hurt them," I muttered, my voice steady despite the sudden rush of fear in my chest. I didn't know why, but I couldn't let these children face this alone. Not after everything I'd been through. I fired. A crack of the shot echoed through the quiet wilderness. The wolf dropped, its body hitting the ground with a sickening thud. For a long moment, the world seemed to stop. The girl didn't move, her eyes still locked on me, her expression a mixture of shock and disbelief. "You're safe now," I said, my voice softer this time, more reassuring. She didn't respond, but her eyes softened slightly. I took a slow step toward her, offering my canteen. She hesitated, but took it, passing it to her younger sibling first. I watched as the girl drank quickly, her small hands trembling. I couldn't leave them out here. I couldn't let them suffer the same fate that had befallen so many others before them. With a steady hand, I offered them my coat, wrapping it around their frail shoulders. Her eyes met mine for a brief second, still fearful, but there was something else in them too, a glimmer of trust. I led them back to my cabin, the snow crunching beneath our boots, leaving behind tracks in the freshly fallen snow. It felt as if the world was closing in around us, and for the first time in years, I felt like I wasn't alone anymore. I didn't know what awaited us, but as the wind howled outside and the fire crackled warmly inside the cabin, I knew one thing for sure. This was just the beginning. A new chapter one I didn't expect, but one that I would face with them by my side. The night was still, the wind of the west howling through the cracks in the cabin, carrying the sound of the cold and distant land outside. Nathaniel sat in silence, his eyes fixed on the flames dancing in the fireplace. He could feel the weight of everything that had come before, the darkness of his past, and the weight of the responsibilities he had now taken on. His life had shifted from isolation and solitude to this, surrounded by people who had come to mean something, something he had never thought he would allow. Alina, the young native girl he had saved, was no longer the fragile child she had once been. She had grown not only in body, but in spirit. Though she carried the scars of her past, it was her strength and resilience that had become a beacon of hope for him. Ayla, her mother, had changed everything for Nathaniel. Her strength, beauty, and determination had forged a bond between them that was beyond anything he had ever expected. Their presence, their unspoken support, was what kept him grounded, pushing him to face the unknown and protect them all. The next morning, the first light of dawn touched the horizon, and Nathaniel stepped outside, the crisp morning air hitting his face. He looked out over the snow-covered plains and felt something stir within him. It wasn't the emptiness he had come to know over the years. It was something new, a sense of connection. The loneliness that had driven him to seek out isolation had been replaced by the presence of the people he had come to care for. And in that moment, he realized that he wasn't just fighting for himself anymore. He was fighting for them, Alina, Ayla, and the family they had built together. But as much as he had begun to heal, the world outside wasn't ready to let him be. The peace they had started to build was fragile, and danger was always lurking. Soon enough, Nathaniel and his family would be faced with threats that would challenge everything they had worked for. The work to rebuild the farm was ongoing, with each day presenting a new challenge. But it wasn't just the physical labor that weighed on Nathaniel's mind. It was the threat from the past that hung over them like a dark cloud. The men who had sold him the property were not just careless businessmen. They had been part of a larger, more dangerous network, and Nathaniel had unknowingly stepped into their web. Ayla, ever the warrior, was quick to recognize the danger. Her eyes held a wisdom born of years of surviving, and as the days passed, she began to prepare for what was to come. Alina, too, had grown into someone who could hold her own, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. Together, they made a team, a unit bound by love and loyalty. Nathaniel found himself leaning on them more than he had ever anticipated. One evening, sitting around the fire, Nathaniel and Ayla shared a quiet conversation. The flames crackled as they talked, and the warmth from the fire didn't just come from the heat, it came from the connection between them. "You know, Nathaniel," Ayla said softly, her voice carrying the weight of experience, "love is not just about being saved. It's about standing together, fighting together. We don't just love each other. We fight for each other." Nathaniel didn't respond at first. He simply met her gaze, feeling the unspoken understanding between them. The way she looked at him, no longer with doubt or hesitation, made him feel something deep inside. The vulnerability he had buried for so long was slowly being uncovered, piece by piece. "I've never felt like this before," he admitted quietly. "Not like this. Not with anyone." Ayla smiled, the kind of smile that made Nathaniel feel like he had found something worth fighting for. And for the first time, he felt truly at home. But the peace was short-lived. One morning, the inevitable came. The same men who had sold him the land returned, bringing with them a new kind of threat. It wasn't just about the land anymore. They wanted control. They wanted to break what Nathaniel had built. But Nathaniel wasn't going to let that happen. The three of them, Alina, Ayla, and Nathaniel, stood together, ready to fight for what they had. The tension was palpable, the air thick with the promise of something dangerous. It wasn't just a fight for survival anymore. It was a fight for their family, their future, and everything they had worked so hard for. As the battle raged on, Nathaniel and Isla fought side by side, their movements synchronized, their determination unwavering. It wasn't just about physical strength. It was about love, loyalty, and the bond they had created. Nathaniel realized that love wasn't just a feeling. It was a force, a power that had the ability to shape everything around them. The fight seemed to last forever, but in the end, they prevailed. The men who had tried to take everything from them were defeated, and Nathaniel stood there, breathing heavily, his body bruised and battered, but his spirit unbroken. Isla stood beside him, her hand on his arm, and for the first time, Nathaniel truly understood what it meant to have a family. They weren't just survivors, they were a unit, a force to be reckoned with. As the sun began to set, Nathaniel looked at the land they had fought for, the farm they had rebuilt, and the family they had created. And for the first time in years, he felt at peace. They had faced unimaginable odds, but they had done it together. And now, nothing, no enemy, no obstacle could ever tear them apart. The journey they had begun was far from over, but they were ready for whatever came next. Together, they would face the future, and nothing could stand in their way. The love that had brought them together was their strength, and with it, they would build a future more powerful than anything they had ever imagined.